Hello, hello, hello again, everyone. Thanks for joining us to another Post-Maafa Reconstruction. Remember, we're here every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Arizona Mountain Standard Time. I am Tahuti Forever, Jatia Destrana Ma'at, and the architect of MelaNation. MelaNation is producing an app. It's an ecosystem for Black economics. And we do have some really big news. I'll save that for the end of the show. We do definitely have some really, really big news. Miss Lizzie Woody, could you please introduce yourself?
Hey, this is Lizzie Woody. What's up, Black Arizona? What's up, Black America? I have been here in Arizona for pretty close to 40 years, and most of those years have been sharing information to the community, trying to make sure that we understand that we do have a place here um, to introduce our businesses, events, and everything. But the key factor is making sure that we get the information and we know that you know we have this information that we can support ourselves. So that has been my journey, and MelaNation came around, and it's like, wow, there I am. So I'm here to just continue my journey and be a part of what MelaNation is about, and it is about community. It's about uplifting and moving forward.
Ashe. And of course, we do have our guest speaker here with us, who I will be introducing in approximately 30 minutes here. But I am very excited for the special guest that you guys can see here, Crystal Gunn. She has some very powerful information, and she's been in the business for a long time. So I'm excited to get there. But for now, please reach out to us on the MelaNation app. You can reach us on YouTube at MelaNation App. You can reach us on Facebook at MelaNation App. And if you feel called to donate, you can donate at the Cash App, which is the $ MelaNation App. Now, we really want you to join us on these social media platforms, because the reason why we're here is we're here to interact. We're here to listen to any opportunities that we may have. We are investing in a social media platform for our people, to uplift our people. And we want to make sure that the tools and the features that we have on the app is something that is the right features to produce. So if you have any ideas, if you have any concerns, come on here. You can send us a message. I'll put your message on the screen and we will address you. That's why we're live here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. So that is what the live session is about. It's about communication. We're a up and growing company, and we're creating an ecosystem for our people. And the only way we can do this effectively is by having that open communication with our audience, with our customers, with the users of the app. And we want you to understand that even though the app will be launching September of 2027, we're not going to be stagnant. We're not going to only have one type of feature. The app has over 400 pages, and we want to make sure that we are addressing the needs of the community. So even after the app is finalized, you can download it to the television, you can download it to your Android or your Apple phone. It's not going to stay in the formation of the first launch. We're going to continue to grow, and we're going to continue to improve. And what we ask is feedback. That's what we're asking for. That's why we're here.
And let me just say, the fact that every week we come on, we have a different speaker, presenter that we talk to, and that gives you an opportunity to see who's out there, what they're doing, and that is going to grow. With us doing this every week, that means that you're going to learn more about the community, And you're going to know where you need to go to find out, to get that information. Because once we get a speaker in, they're part of the family. They're going to be around. And that could be you.
This is true. Yes, indeed. So let me go ahead and play our 2-minute video so we can introduce the audience to what the app consists of.
The emergence of an inspired event is now on the move, requiring all hands on deck. So here's why you should share. We have substantially invested in a systematic approach to Black economics. Our mission is to empower and uplift our community, both online and in the physical world where birds fly. Interestingly, your monthly vote steers the direction of the company. Introducing MelaNation, a cutting-edge TV and an internet platform. It's making its way to the world stage with over 400 pages of state-of-the-art features. Features include movie streaming, a production studio for influencers where your production will be displayed through the television, a dating site that can be accessed through the TV, a Google Maps-powered satellite mapping system for registered Black-owned businesses and entertainment, making it easier for you to locate the community near you, and much more. We're bringing everything the community needs under one roof in order to build the proper infrastructure across the nation. Learn more on the Facebook page, family. The time is now for your participation to shape the direction of this community-powered company.
Ashe. So that's the app. That's the project that we're working on. And again, like I said, we want to stay in a position where we can continue to change and mold and grow, right? Systematic racism affects us for a very long time, has affected us for a very long time. And we want to be able to answer and address the needs that's happening in life form. So as it's happening, we want to be able to address those needs. So one of the questions that we ask every week is, what does Maafa mean? These questions are important to us because it really solidifies our understanding of ourselves, who we are as a culture, and our community. So Maafa itself is Swahili. It directly translates as the great disaster. But when we say Maafa, what we're referring to is systematic racism in all of its form. So when we're talking about redlining, Jim Crow laws, transatlantic slave trade, colonialism, when we're talking about any of these features that has been oppressing us over hundreds of years, we call that the Maafa. The Jewish people have the Holocaust, which happened at one location for a duration of time. And the Maafa is more of, if you compare it to the Holocaust, you have to remember that the Maafa is worldwide, and it happened for hundreds of years to millions of people. So it's like a super Holocaust, if in that way. So that's what Maafa. So Maafa, when we're talking about the Maafa, what we're talking about is understanding the thing that unifies us as a people. Because there's a lot of people on different continents that have been in different continents for hundreds of years, but they went through the same type of oppression based on the same issues. So when we're looking at the Maafa, we're looking at something that we understand we've all gone through the same struggle. This other question here is, what does Sankofa mean? The meaning of Sankofa. We want to give our audience a little bit of grammar, and we want to give our audience a little bit of this really quick. So what does Sankofa mean? Sankofa directly translates as go back and fetch it, right? And like I said, words have meaning. So when we're talking about go back and fetch it, what is it? What is the it? We're really talking about remember where you come from. Be true to who you are. Remember the struggles that we've gone through and bring that with you as we move forward. All the accomplishments that our ancestors have made, bring that with us as well. We're standing on it. We didn't just wake up and pop into reality today all on our own. We have generations of people that helped us get to where we are. So we have to remember where we came from, be true to ourselves. So that's a very beautiful sentiment, Sankofa. And I ask that every session because it's very, very important. Why do we call the app MelaNation? And this is a very interesting and potentially controversial term. It is. I decided to call it MelaNation because I'm firm in the meaning and the understanding. However, I know that it's going to come up multiple times depending on the people I'm speaking with. Why didn't we just say, the Black app or the African American app or the African app? And one of the things I really like to address is the concept that we call ourselves today. We call ourselves Black. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to address this term because I do not want to use this term anymore, especially after becoming a part of the movement and understanding how these concepts came about. So the concept of Black and of whiteness came about during the transatlantic slave trade. It is a social construct. There's no Black people on the planet. There's no white people on the planet. It was constructed for one purpose, and that purpose was to define who could be enslaved and who could be the slave masters. So if you were Black, which was a term specifically created for that reason, that meant you were potentially able to be enslaved. Now the word nigger, that word just means Black. That's all it means. It's Latin meaning Black. So it doesn't matter if you say it in English or if you say it in Latin, the word means the same. A lot of us have taken the word nigger, take off the ER and put an A on it, and we use it as a term of endearment. And in the 60s, we did the same thing with the word Black. Keeping in mind how it was constructed. It was constructed to oppress us. The word itself was a concept specifically constructed to oppress us, right? But now we're using that word as a term of endearment, and I get it because I was raised using that word as well. But we didn't want to bring that into a system of economics for melanated people. We didn't want to bring that same concept. We want to be able to be empowered, be able to create our own terminology. The concept of Black, that's not something that we created ourselves. That was created through systematic oppression. The concept of nigger, that wasn't created by us either. So we now have the power and the conditions where we can start to claim our own declarations, make our own declarations. So yeah, I do hear a brief echo at this point. So we decided to go with the term melanation. Melanin is the chemical that produces our pigmentation. Now, everything has melanin. Every person has melanin. However, there's something called EU melanin that's more abundant in what we call Black African people or the original people on the planet. And we want to keep in mind that when systematic racism was at its height and slavery was at its height, they had terms saying that we were 3/5 of a person. That's what Black is. Black is 3/5 of a person. They also said that if you have one drop of Blackness in you, then that made you susceptible to being enslaved. That put you in that box less than our white counterparts. But Black, again, is a social construct. There is no such thing other than the color, and no one is the color Black. So what were they saying? What they were saying is, if you had 1 drop of EU melanin. That's what they were saying. If you have 1 drop of EU melanin in your DNA, in your genes, in your skin, then you are now placed in that box. So all of our family that was oppressed was specifically oppressed. It didn't matter about your religion, denomination, your nationality, your historical ideologies. None of that stuff mattered. Only thing that they were concerned was your melanin. Do you have 1 drop of it or not? So being that what it is, we decided to move forward with the name MelaNation, right? Because it addresses a larger audience, a larger concept than just saying Black, which is part of the systematic racism in itself. Miss Lizzie, did you have anything you wanted to add to this?
No, I did think about, you made me think about when I was growing up, because I grew up in Georgia, and that's another story. But I'm thinking we were called Negroes.
Right.
And I haven't heard anyone say that, to jump on Negro and explain, the dynamics of that. Because I was growing up, we weren't called Black.
Right.
I think the Black came out during the 60s or 70s or whatever. So
yes,
how many different names do we have to choose from?
Exactly. And they also call us minorities, right? They put us together. So every name that they use for us is derogatory in nature. Minority is saying we're less than. They're just reminding us that we're less than them. They have a reason. Well, it's because in numbers, you guys don't have the same numbers. No, you just wanted to be reminded that we're less than you. And that's why you're giving us this name minority or Black or nigger or Negro. And again, Black and Negro is defined in the exact same way, just 2 different languages. In Spanish is negro, right? It's the same word. So we can't really say I'm okay with being called Black, but I'm not okay with be called a nigger or Negro. It's the same word, it's just different language.
Right, I get that.
Right. So, and what I wanted to, you did bring up something that I really wanted to address. It kind of slipped my mind, but it's important that we define ourselves. That's very, very important, is that we have the ability to speak for ourselves and to define ourselves instead of being defined by the oppressor who do not have our interest at heart. And again, like the last live that we had the teacher on here who had a Black educational system in place for the youth. And it's important that we do, have our own educational systems. Systematic racism is in all forms and all areas that, finance, we're definitely going to talk about that today, right? Education, employment, there's oppression in every single area of our lives. So the pressure is always on us until we get inside of our homes and we're no longer in society. But societal wise, the pressure is always on. And I do see Ms. Janvier. She has entered the building.
Hey.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Marjorie MJ Janvier. I'm the project manager for MelaNation and Team MJ.
Yes, indeed.
It's all we need.
That being said, let me share our webpage. Our webpage is melanation.co. Melanation.co is our webpage. And I'm going to just read off some of the information here. Every MelaNation starts with you. Mela Community is a powerful all-in-one platform designed to connect, empower, and elevate the global melanated community. From networking to business growth to content, event, and opportunities, everything is in one ecosystem. Mela Community is not just another social app. It's a digital nation where culture, commerce, and collaboration come together. Whether you're a creator, entrepreneur, professional, or a community leader, this is your home. One of my favorite aspects of MelaNation is Mela News. This is our ability to take the narrative and describe ourselves. As a Post-Maafa Reconstruction instrument, the phase began with narrative sovereignty. After centuries of displacement, extraction, and distortion, our first responsibility is to reclaim the power to define our reality for ourselves. Reconstruction cannot occur while stories are being told by outsiders, filtered through hostile systems, or reduced to spectacle. A people disconnected from their own narrative cannot coordinate their future. So I just wanted to touch on here so that our audience knows we are in construction, we are building. The app will be here, and the app is for us and by us. We utilize entertainment. We do have movies where you can download and stream through the television as a strategy gateway to reach our community at large. Culture draws us in, but consciousness keeps us together. Through our shared stories, music, creativity, we gather the people, transforming intention into alignment and participation into purpose. Galvanizing a community is not just a slogan, it's a mechanism for empowerment. So our app, the MelaNation app, has over 400 pages of state-of-the-art features. If you name it, we probably have it on there. You can search for job opportunities. You can search for employment. You can buy and sell through the Mela Market. There's learning and courses that you can, as a student, you can find teachers, and teachers can find students. So we're creating one ecosystem that is something that will continue to evolve. It's not going to stay stationary or static. We're looking to improve this at every point that we can. So it's important that the community shows up. Let us know what the challenges are, what the opportunities are, so we can address those. We're looking to invest in our community, and we are serious about it. We're doing the work.
I have a question for you, Tahuti.
Yes.
As far as post-Maafa Reconstruction, so would you say that that's where we are now? That's what we're working on. That's what we're leading to.
Yes, exactly. So Post-Maafa is a really strong, powerful statement. We're declaring that we're at a point in time where systematic racism no longer is going to be the primary driving force of our lives. We're now we have technology at our disposal. We have numbers. We have a lot of people in the community who is able and willing and ready to work together. So we're saying that the Maafa, we're done with that. We're done with the Maafa. We're no longer going to continue to sit here and be oppressed. That's done and over. So, and of course, history proves that all dynasties have reconstruction phases. They rise and then they fall. And during that fall, they are reconstructed. So we are currently, it's been over 400 years, but now we're currently in a reconstruction phase. So that's the declaration that we're making. It's a post-Maafa reconstruction, right?
Right.
We have the power and the ability to take our future in the direction that we wanted to go in at this point.
Right. And I like that because it gives it that is a name for it, you know.
Yeah, and now is the best time in history to do reconstruction, and we can do it all over the world. So that makes it like back in the day when they were saying, "Go west, young man, go west to dig for gold." So now this is our goal. But I like to think of it like an iceberg. You know that iceberg that put that ship down, the Titanic? They didn't see it. All they saw was the tip of it. It was so big underneath, they couldn't avoid being sunken. So yeah, so I see this company as that iceberg that put that Titanic down. It's more than meets the eye. It's more than meets the eye. So people that are not being a part of it, don't say we didn't try to tell you, because we are trying to tell you about this. So go ahead and try to check it out. Take a look at it. Don't wait till everybody's talking about it and it's all the buzz when you could have been a part of it right now.
And that's what we're trying to show people. You can be a part of this Post-Maafa. That's what this is about, to educate you and get you to realize, we kind of have all, I would say, have control. But when we come together, we can work on changing that. Yeah. And that's what MelaNation is about, bringing us together.
Ashe, this is true. So how can the community help?
That's what we're talking about.
What can the community do?
If you slap somebody with your hand, it's not going to be a powerful blow as if you put it all together and smack them with that. So togetherness is what I'm talking about. It will strike a mighty blow.
Ashe. So the community, without the community, nothing is going to work. We're here specifically to drive the community, to galvanize the community together so that we can be that strong fist. So what the community can do is they can join us. They can join us on our Facebook page. They can join us on the Messenger chat group, which is a large community where we're constantly in communication with each other, right? And of course, they can spread the word of the news. So I will go ahead and give out the news. If all goes well, according to the developers, we're going to have the front end of this app probably by next week. So next week.
About when? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
So we're scheduled Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo is our schedule for receiving the original test phase downloads. So everyone who's part of the community, we have over 100 and something people part of the community on Messenger, will be able to test the features of the app. Of course, it's not going to be public, but we will have it and we'll be working on it, getting all the bugs and making it look presentable for the public. So, and with that being said, we're likely going to actually launch publicly a lot sooner than expected. So things are going very, very well.
Yes. And so those of you who are not a part of it right now, come on and join us so you can be one of the first to test it out. You'll be one of the first because it's not going to go public right now.
This is true.
Surprise me, surprise me. I love surprises.
Good surprises, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
I like surprises, but somebody's got to tell me it's coming.
Right. The anticipation is everything.
Let me know when the surprise is going to be here.
Right.
There's no surprise then.
Well, that's the kind of surprise I like, though. I want to know about it.
Yes, indeed. So at this time, we have reached our segment for our special guest speaker. Let me go ahead and explain to you who Crystal L. Gunn is. She's a visionary, financial healer, and alchemist, licensed life insurance advisor, strategist, and empowerment leader dedicated to restoring financial serenity and building wealth systems that heal and sustain individual families and communities. With over 2 decades of experience in the financial industry, Crystal blends spiritual intelligence, legacy planning, and cultural alignment into a model of transformation that bridges practical finance with deep healing. She is the founder of the Amazing Woman Network, ON, a global platform empowering Black women through the wealth, education, spiritual serenity, and leadership elevation. And ON cares. It's philanthropic, philanthropy. Oh, on. So it's philanthropy. Through On Cares, the red dot projects uh, provides mental health and financial empowerment resources to women and girls worldwide, healing them, building confidence, stability, and independence. Crystal also leads United Community Solutions, Freedom Wisdom Institution, and Anchor Archer Wealth Group, three pillars of the ecosystem that combine education strategy and legacy design. A presidential Lifetime Achievement Award recipient and president of Detroit Business League, Crystal continues to champion economic justice and general wealth, reminding us that money is medicine and that healing our finances is sacred path to freedom. Welcome,
All right.
welcome, Mrs. Gunn. And I've told you already, I love the videos and the information that you've been putting out.
Thank
So
you.
I am so honored to have you here on our channel today.
Well, I'm super excited to be here. And let me say, this MelaNation app is one of the things we need. It's a bravo to you all for putting it together because it will be able to connect people across the, across the country. And
Ashe, ashe.
yeah,
Right.
it is power in numbers, and that's what we need.
This is true.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so what is your origin story? How did you get into the finance? I know it said you've been doing it for over 20 years. That's a long duration. So how did you get into it?
So it's interesting. It was not something that I ever like thought that I would be right here today doing this work. So if I go back, many years ago, I literally was working in the accounting department at a credit union, right? And went from that credit union to another credit union, became vice president of that credit union. And it's just been one thing after another. Left there, started a mortgage company with my husband at that time. We did that. I've, had a tax franchise. I have managed processing teams for other mortgage companies, like for Citibank, ran housing counseling agencies, and then went back on the mortgage side. And I finally just left and I said, you know what? I can have greater impact on my own doing what I have done behind the scenes and for these other organizations. And then I said, let me just step out here and do what I have been called to do. And here we
All
are.
right.
I say what's interesting is that I have a similar background.
Mm.
I have a similar background, and my last position was with American Express.
Wow.
Right, I was a senior negotiator for American Express. So I really appreciate your history, and I can understand some of the things that you've learned in that industry and how that's very useful for our community.
Absolutely.
In fact, I have a life license. I actually went and grabbed a life license as well. But I haven't practiced. I went and grabbed the license and put the accolade on my belt, right? But life is extremely important tool that we can utilize, especially when we're coming together economically. Can you dive into that a little bit?
So let me tell you one of the reasons why I love life insurance, right? So first of all, most people just think about it for the death benefit, but really and truly what it is in the name. It's life insurance, right? And for these past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, you hear People talking about, oh, building generational wealth and all that thing. That's great. But how do you build and pass down generational wealth if you don't have any wealth today? Well, one of the most inexpensive ways to do that is through life insurance. Not just for when you die, so the next generation or your heirs get it, but being able to use the cash value in it so that your children have this money that they can use in their adult life and they don't have to wait until you die in order to receive their inheritance. And then you can structure it in this whole legacy type thing where, the policies can also be used to fund trust accounts, and we just keep doing this thing for generation after generation. I'm just a firm believer we should be thinking 10 generations deep and teaching every generation to think 10 generations deep in order for us to reclaim, right, what was really taken away from us. And so life insurance is just a powerful way in order to be able to do that.
This is true. And I'm looking forward to, once the app is actually here, I'm going to do a deep dive because I don't know all the legalities of how it works, especially when you're talking about insuring a community, right? Yeah. So I'm going to do a deep dive into that, and I might be reaching out to you for your expertise.
Yes.
So 20 years, that's a very long time. Can you tell us some interesting experiences that you've had along the way?
Yes. And interesting experiences and facts, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of money running through our community. And others would think that that's not the truth. We have a lot of, I think the most recent number is we have an almost $2 trillion buying power, right?
Wow.
And what can be done with that money? Like if there was some intentionality behind it, right? What I have learned and what all of my history has really brought me to was because I had an opportunity to see all of the things. When I ran a housing counseling agency, and even when my United Community Solutions, I ran someone else's housing counseling agency. United Community Solutions is my agency, and we were a community partner for Fifth Third for the last 3 years, which they paid me to go out into community and do free workshops, financial workshops, home buying, credit, all of the things. We don't show up.
Wow.
We don't show up for the information, not in enough numbers where we then get to have impact. But the more I see and saw things like that, I had to go back and figure out, well, why is this the case, right? And so it's not that we're not smart. It's not that we can't grasp a concept. It's not any of that, because we have, folks that look like us that are running, billion-dollar organizations. So we know the thing. Well, why are we not doing what it is that we need to do to close this wealth gap, to build this generational wealth, to be able to pass it down, to have those tools, to have your financial house in order? Why are we not doing it? Well, some of it is because we just don't know what we don't know, and then we don't go out and get the information. So we don't show up for the things. We don't put the same value in financial education that we do in getting that degree from that college, right? But then I said, yeah, that says some things, but what's the other thing? And so where you hear me say my title is financial healer, because the numbers are easy, but it's the wounds that are running in the background. And that's some of the most interesting things that I've seen over the years, are the wounds that's running in the background that keep us from producing, showing up, saving, doing all of the things that we need to do that will put us so much further ahead financially. And then we carry the shame, the guilt, and all of that associated with it when it's not even our fault. You know what I mean? So that's been just like the biggest, and you see it in every conversation, and no matter who you talk to, and more money doesn't solve the problem.
Right. We also have stigma. We have the trauma, and the trauma cycle of trauma before we can even overcome one traumatic experience, another one comes. But then we have stigma in our community as well when it comes to money.
Yeah. Which
Right.
comes again from trauma, and then what I call and have coined, the layers of origin of all of this trauma. So I have like 10 financial wounds that I've just been able to note, and then these layers. And so when you think about what's the individual layer, the inherited layer, the collective layer, the installed layer, and the extracted layer, like we have so many different things going on and running our financial story that it's hard to even figure out, well, which way do I go? Yeah, I got more money. Yeah, you know what I mean? I got this raise in my job, or I got this new job, and now I make 30, 40, $50,000 more, but my situation doesn't change.
Right.
Same thoughts, habits, beliefs, patterns, wounds keep showing up. It doesn't matter that you're making more money.
Right. And then a lot of people, they haven't seen someone who has money, and so they can't imagine it. And then there's a workshop, and they're like, I don't think that's going to work. Just hear somebody talk about it. But once you get in there and you get somebody, somebody who's a millionaire, somebody who's owning a business, people like this, then you can see yourself doing that. But if you don't know anyone, you haven't seen it.
And here's the other thing, though. We got to show up in the room, and we got to get the information, because most people aren't, it's hard to become a millionaire. Even if you're in a room with somebody, if you haven't changed your thoughts, habits, and healed the wounds that's keeping you from, just being able to build a retirement plan. So it
let
really.
me just
Yes,
go on.
ma'am.
I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No. What I was going to say is, I'm constantly hearing us say, what we are not doing, and why can't we do better? I feel I'm putting MelaNation in here because I feel that's what MelaNation is about. We are about listening and hearing the same things over and over and over again. I don't care who's saying it, rich, poor, or whatever, but we're not solving the problem. We need to figure out what we can do to solve the problem, and have this team of people. That is what they work on, solving that problem, making sure that people get the information. Because that's why I do what I do, because most people do not get the information to support. Some do, they get the information, they either support or not. But most of our people do not get the information. We have to make sure they are getting the information in order to start making those changes.
So where I agree with you, I'm also going to challenge you a little bit on what you're saying. I had to learn a long time ago that everybody can't go.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
They just can't, because there's a lot of self-work in reclaiming and redefining your personal financial relationship. I can bring you a workshop, but if you won't show up, I can't do. So and it's interesting that you said that, because something that just came to me the other day, and I'll give you an example, right? I did it was called Love the Legacy workshop, online webinar, and it was about life insurance. And if you follow me and you know me, I don't teach just numbers. So I go back and I talk about the history of things and how this financial system was built on our backs. And then I go back prior to, slavery and all of those things, and talked about the power of who we were and how that still is in us, right? And on social media, this is between Facebook and Instagram, it was probably over 1,200 people that asked, right, for the link to register. This was a free webinar. They asked for the link to register. So they got the link. Now, watch how these numbers break down. Over 1,200 people on social media asked for the link. There was about 125 people that registered. There was 50 people on the call, right? Now, people will say, well, whoever was in the room was supposed to be in a room. Because them other 1,200 people that registered, that 1,000 people that registered, they needed to be in the room. But there's a gate that's keeping them from getting in the room, right? They can't pull the trigger and do the next thing. Why? Because all of these wounds and things are running in the background. And so what happens is we go back and we say whoever was in the room was supposed to be in the room. Part of that is our ego, right? So, okay, 1,200 people didn't show up to my, okay, well, whoever was in the room was supposed to be in the room. So that's that piece of it.
Right.
But when we move the ego outside, we got to look at why didn't those people why did they not show up? There is a reason.
Absolutely.
And we do have to go back and say, now, will we get them all? Absolutely not. But we do have to say, well, wait a minute. This is the invisible attrition. We don't pay attention to the people who did not come to the room, right? But there's so many gates. So was there shame? That was part of it. We never talked about money in my household. So there's the silence wound showing up. I saw it. I wanted to come, right? But the worthy wound jumps in and say, yeah, but I'm not worthy of whatever. So they don't even show up. So it's all of those things. So when you talk about that is my work, the numbers are easy. It's getting people in the room to say, hey, I need this healing, right? That's the hard part. It's easy to tell you how to create a cash flow design. It's easy to tell you what to do with your credit, but you got to show up and you got to do the work to heal.
That's very, very interesting. And we need you back here to do a workshop for us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that possible?
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I thought you were here.
That would be wonderful.
So yeah.
No, I mean back on another.
Yeah. No, I absolutely will. And so someone said earlier, like, don't wait until, do what you need to do to be in the email list, whatever it is, to get on this app, right? We also have trust issues with one another. But part of that is if my finances are raggedy and jacked up, I automatically assume yours are raggedy and jacked up because you look like me. Not to mention what was put in us from, slavery. You couldn't come together and do anything. All of that stuff is still showing up. It just doesn't go away because slavery went away. All of those wounds collectively are still there. So until we really start to address the thing, and so when you say, well, who's doing that? Like, that's me. That is my work. It's like the healing that has to happen in order for us to reach financial liberation and sovereignty. It doesn't come without the healing. More money does not solve the problem.
Ashe. What you said reminds me of the saying of crabs in a bucket.
Absolutely.
Crab's trying to climb out, and the crab below him reaches on his leg and pull him down.
And watch this. It's not even the other crab in the bucket. My wounds, right? That trauma, the beliefs, all of those things are pulling me down. I don't even need another person to pull me down. It's my own stuff that's pulling me down.
Ashe.
Yeah. So yeah, you can tell.
That brings up this question. This is not a question, or this is a statement question. Money.
And money is not money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money is the root of all evil.
Oh, I thought it was not having it, the lack of money. and yeah, I'm ready for my medicine.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm ready for my medicine.
That taking that scripture and leaving out the important part of that scripture, right? One of those things that was installed in us. Because if I tell you money is the root of all evil, now you're going to systematically and unconsciously stay away from money. You don't even know that you're not making what you should make because somebody told you money was the root of all evil. And so it's those type of things that have pulled us out of our rhythm. The more money I have, the more impact I can have. Not just on me in my life, but on the people that are in my community and my family. We can't run
Can you
from
give
it.
us some pointers on what we can, some information as to how we can start to rethinking about, what do we do with our money? How do we get started?
So I'm going to tell you one of the things that really is the first thing that you do. You got to know where your money is going. People aren't even looking at how they're spending money right now. So one of the first things that I have people do when they work with me one-on-one is I have them go through their bank statements. I need you to highlight certain, things based on a certain code that we're doing. Like what are your bills to live in this house? How much are you putting in savings? How much are you spending on yourself for self-care and self-improvement, not just getting your hair and nails done, right? And then all of this other stuff. But what happens when they go through that, and then I ask, what did you discover? And it's things like, I don't have any money going to savings. I spend too much money at Starbucks, whatever the thing is, right? And I do it that way because they then get to say if I said you spend too much money at Starbucks, your natural inclination is I need to defend that. But if you say you spent too much money at Starbucks, okay, now what are we going to do? So the first thing is you got to look at where your money is going. Most people don't even know. And then what are these bills that we're paying every single month? So you're paying a certain amount of bills, right? And so let's just do easy math. You got $600 worth of bills that you pay every month. You bring home $1,000. There's $400 extra. We've given those $600, those bills, that's a job. It's that extra $400. We haven't become intentional with that money. So you just look up and you're like, oh, well, I need to make more money. But wait, what happened to this $400? Right? Because we can go outside and spend $100 and not know what happened to it, because outside is expensive these days. So we have to be intentional with our money, right? And so every dollar should have a job. And I don't care if it's, everything that you do. So if you're shopping, you're putting money away for travel. I say if you're drinking, you smoke, that needs to be in your cash flow design too, because you need to plan for it, right? We have to be intentional with our money, and we're not intentional with our money, and none of it, and I say it time and time again, is your fault initially. Nobody taught you how to do any of this. And so now you figure out, well, I'm making it, I'm whatever. It's like, yeah, you're making it, but are you thriving? Or are you just surviving? Because there's a big difference, right? And so that intentionality says that you now are being intentional with your money so that you can live the life you desire and deserve. And I always say deserve because we've been conditioned to desire less than we deserve. And then we think, oh, well, I'm doing okay. And now you're doing better than the next person that looks like you, but you're not doing as good as you could be doing if you just stepped back and came into the room. So I'm always inviting them in the room.
That statement reminds me of Les Brown. He has a phrase, I don't ever get the phrase right, but Les Brown is a motivational speaker for people who don't know who Les Brown is. But he says people are not unsuccessful because they don't hit their goals. They hit their goals. They just aim too low.
Come on, say it again.
Right? They hit their goals, but they just aim too low, and then they become complacent.
We keep aiming too low because of conditioning, because of programming, because of the shared frequency. We keep aiming too low, and then if I hit this bar, I hit the goal, I don't really care if somebody else hit the goal. You know what I mean? It becomes then that selfish thing. Well, I made it. Well, are we not a collective or not? We're supposed to be a community. And how do we become how do we stay in community?
Right. So how would you define success?
Okay, so that's actually a phenomenal question, right? And so, because we're all individual people, right? Success looks different for everybody. So, we can change that success to wealth, right? It's the individual. So, I often say, you got to go back. Your success is going to be different from my success, it's going to be different from your sisters, from your brothers, and even from your parents' success. So, you got to go back and figure out, what does success mean to you?
Ashe, this is
And
true.
then you go after that, because part of that success is what's important to you, what values you hold, right? How you want to live your life, what kind of legacy you want to live. It's not going to be the same for everybody. So I don't believe, and success is really and truly trying to be able to meet what your definition of success is. That's
Ashe.
when you know what I mean? That's when you have become successful. It's not about how much money you make.
I agree. So you're saying that success is something that's within each person.
That's an individual definition.
Ashe. I believe that. I believe the same thing. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And two children could have been raised in the exact same household. And I'm not even talking about a household full of trauma. But if you ask them that and to write out what a successful life looks like, they're going to write two different stories, because they're two different individuals.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how about your personal model? What model do you live by?
A life is only as good as the impact it has on another.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's Jackie Robinson. That's my, that's it. And my life is dedicated to the impact that it has on my people. That's it. That's what I do every day. How do I positively uplift my people and get them on the path
Mm.
of liberation? That's it.
Ashe, ashe.
Ashe. And I know the system today, the economy right now is up in the air because of politics and wars and all these other things. But what what will be a good decision? What, let's say, what's the best decision you made, and what type of decisions could be made? Let's say someone was looking for an answer where they can have passive income, they have something that they can invest, they have money set aside that they can invest, and they want to be intentional. Okay.
I love all those questions. Listen, I love it. Let me work. So, what was the best decision I ever made? The best decision I ever made was to do what I'm doing right now, right? That's the best decision that I ever made, outside of my child. That's the best decision that I ever made. And specifically doing it for my people. Best decision I ever made. The other thing that I want people to do
Agree
is,
with that.
listen, we are watching, and this is not just in the United States, we are watching a fall of a nation, right? And so we're watching the fall of nations. And a nation has to fall in order for the new nation to rise, right?
Okay.
And
Right.
so if I had a few things to say to people, I would say, get out of this, step back from this whole party, political, whatever. Like, step back from that, because most have no idea what's truly going on. Again, this is the deliberate fall of a nation so a new nation can rise. One of the things that I talk about, I tell my clients, I talk about it in workshops, I talk about it in master classes. Good is coming, right? We got to get through the we got to get through the seeing all of these people, the disclosures, all of the fraud, all of that stuff has to be cleaned up. If you bought a company, right, and you went into a company and the company had been failing for years, you're going to shut down everything and try to figure out what's going on. So we're in full disclosure mode, all of the things, but good things are coming. And my job is to make sure when the good things come, my people can hold it, right? So, silver. We should be buying physical silver. Why? Because the price is going up. The price of silver is suppressed. It's probably about $90 an ounce right now. Been telling people to buy silver for 4 or 5 years. It was $19 an ounce 4 or 5 years ago. It was $33 an ounce last summer, right? My clients
Wow.
have been buying silver. The
Wow.
price of depressed. Gold is over $4,000 an ounce. So when people say, well, why silver and not gold? Because most people can't afford to buy gold. But you can afford to buy silver. And so when we flip back to asset-backed currency, and it is coming, when we flip back, the price of gold is going to go through the roof and silver is going to follow. So if you bought silver today for $90, and let's just say it goes to 5,000, then out. You get what I'm saying? But
Right.
we get caught up in all of these other distractions. And instead of saying, hey, wait a minute, let me take a look at really and truly what's happening. So I try to point these things out, start paying attention to what's being out there. And you might have to turn off mainstream media in order to find the stuff out because it's not coming out that way. And so know that good things are happening. But here's the thing. Let's just say the playing field got leveled. Everybody's debt got wiped. Everybody's getting universal income. Doesn't matter if our still thoughts, habits, beliefs, and wounds are still running our financial story. We're going to be in the same situation. It's like a person wins the lottery for $2 million and 2 years later, they don't have no money. Why?
Right.
The same stuff is running their money story. We got to heal first because the good doesn't matter if we don't have a container to hold it. And most of us don't have a container to hold it.
And like you said, most people didn't have a savings when they looked at all the different things they're doing with their money. And when people get a lot of money, they don't really know what to do with it. They've been getting money and spending it as soon as they get it in their hand. So that's what they do when they get millions, $2 million.
They get a lump sum of money. Like you said, they have not been receiving that type of money. And so they don't know when or if ever that type of money is going to come again. So it's quick to leave out of their hands. I got to move. I got to make this decision fast instead of saying, just hold on for a second. Let's figure it out and come up with a plan. Because then you're going to make decisions that really aren't in your best interest. You think they are, but that's survival mode speaking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to somebody and say, how do we create this plan that's going to benefit me? You know, people, I had a conversation with a client today, right? And she was talking to her tax person. And her tax person said, you almost had to owe this season. You need to let them take more money out of your paycheck. And I said, don't listen to her. I'm like, that's not what I said, you don't live there anymore. That's a survival mode tactic. You're not living in survival mode. You've redefined your personal financial relationship. I said, guess what? If you owe, then you have the money to pay it, but you've had your money for 12 months to spend how you wanted to spend your money, as opposed to giving it to right. And so she went on to say, like, her tax person has been doing her taxes, I guess, for quite a few years, and has, you know, the more money she started to make, her tax person would be like, wow, you make a lot of money. What do you do? And I said, that's not your tax person. I said, you need a new tax person. I said, I'm not saying anything negative about her, but if you make X amount of dollars and your tax person comments like she's not accustomed to seeing people that make that type of money, you need a new tax person because you're no longer her clientele, right? You're not her client. I said, you need the person that's accustomed to seeing how much money you make and more, because they're going to tell you different things to do as that advisor. And so as you heal and redefine your personal financial relationship, it's not a snub to anybody else, but you have to then have those people around you that are going to help you keep elevating.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just those type of things that you just you got to show up for, and you have to get that knowledge because, you know, we're going to try to come back and get you. But at the end of the day, you still got to show up. You got to push past all of the gates so that you can get in the room.
Like I was saying, I've been watching you do your lives for a while. And I know there's certain things that what you said reminded me of certain videos of how people get their paycheck and they immediately pay their bills. And you were saying that in itself is a survival technique.
Absolutely. Because you learn that somewhere. You either saw it growing up, so that's what was modeled in your house, or there was a time in your life where you had to pay when you got your paycheck because that's the only time that you had money, and then it was gone, right? So when we hear people talk about paycheck to paycheck living, there's really two sides to that coin. There's the side that says, I don't make enough money. I can only pay my bills when this paycheck comes, right? And then I got to figure out what's happening after that. That's one side of paycheck to paycheck. The other side of that is I make enough money. I make more than enough money, but I only pay my bills when my paycheck comes because I'm still running the same program from when I did not have enough money or from what I learned growing up in this household. This is when the bills were paid. And so we operate in certain ways and we don't even really know why we operate the way we do. Part of my job is to hold up a mirror to you so that you can see this is why you're operating that way. We got to name the thing. And once you start naming the thing, that's when you get to heal.
Right. And you also brought up taxes. I remember when I was younger, I used to love my tax return. Right. I love my tax return. I have, I was a single father. My kids are grown now. And, so tax return came around. I was like, great. Well, maybe I should use this as a savings account. And what you brought up just now is how people said you should pay more into taxes. And you brought up the how would that make sense when you can invest the money yourself?
So this is 12 months. My money could have been sitting somewhere, earning some interest for me, doing investments. I done bought some stock, but it's been sitting somewhere else. And now I'm going to wait for you to give it back to me so that I can then go back and say, okay, well, I'm going to buy more things. But that's survival mode thing. And so then there's a whole industry, you know what I mean? There's a whole, and I used to own a tax franchise. Let me be clear, right? I used to own a tax franchise, and people would come in and they would get that tax money and they would go give it right away to, Foot Locker and wherever else to buy all of the things, and they're not making. Or I have heard people say, "Well, yeah, I'll do that, and I will, give my landlord, 5 months rent." What? so you giving your landlord 5 months rent that now he can put into an account to save more money, where you could have just put it somewhere else in an account to save, and it's sitting there waiting for you to pay.
Right.
But somebody has to tell you that. Somebody has to teach you that, because doing that the other way is survival mode.
Right. So we're not used to having money work for us. We're used to working for money.
And right? Watch this. So you go back to slavery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our labor was extracted from us. We didn't have any money. So we didn't have any money to budget, right? Then after slavery, okay, well, now maybe we got a little money, but we got to make sure that the bills are paid. And most people got stuck right there. Mm-hmm. in their family, in the bloodline, in the shared frequency, in the collective unconscious. We got stuck right there. So now people make sure their bills are paid. But again, what you doing with the rest of the money?
Right. Like we don't know, a lot of us don't know the terms APY or interest or any of that. We only know interest as far as, because we got debt.
That's it. And
pay it off.
And we don't know that there's a better interest rate out there for you on that debt. We're happy to get whatever the credit was that we needed. So I'm going to take this 15% interest rate, as opposed to saying, well, wait, how do I get that 7% interest rate? Right. And so the more you're living in survival mode, the body sounds the same alarm, that whole fight or flight, which then cuts out access to the cortex part of your brain, which is where rational thought and creativity is housed. So if you're living in survival mode every single day, right, you can't even figure out how to get out of it. You gotta go help somebody. Mm-hmm. Always say, give yourself grace and mercy. It is not your fault that your financial picture looks the way that it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about.
I think these are.
I always heard that when you get your paycheck, you're supposed to pay yourself first and then do everything else, whatever it is.
So it's not only pay yourself first. At the end of the day, it's being intentional with your money. If I make this amount of money, okay, this is going towards the light bill. This is going towards whatever, rent or mortgage. This is going towards paying my car. But also, how much are you setting aside for travel. Don't you like to travel? How much are you setting aside for entertainment? How much you're setting aside for all of these other things on how you want to live your life? But you have to take a step back and say, how do I want to live my life?
I say.
Because if you don't know, we can't even create a cash flow design to help support that piece. And most people are living life after they've paid all of the bills. So now,
So these are issues.
Go ahead, Miss Wood, Lizzie.
No, I was saying, so these are issues that are definitely a part of MelaNation's journey, to address those issues and figure out how do we change those dynamics, because, it's an ongoing thing. I mean, that's not new. So how do we fix it? That's always my thing.
And it's not going to fix with anybody overnight. That lady, my client that I was talking to today, we've been working for 2 years. Well, 1.5 years. And she has come so far. But it was a process because the wounds have to be addressed. And then you got to do the work to heal the wounds. Just because it shows up. There was a point when we first started, and now we figured out you got this much money left over after we put all of these bills on here and all of these other things that you want to do and pay and travel and all of that. She couldn't even look at the number. And I said, why can't you look at the number? And she says, because when I see money in my bank account, I think I have to spend it so that it doesn't get taken away from me. More money doesn't solve that wound.
This is true.
You got to figure out, well, where did that happen? What happened?
Well, I wouldn't put it in.
I'm sorry?
You cut out.
No, I was just going to say, if I thought they were going to take the money out of the bank, take my money, I wouldn't put it in the bank. Why would I do that?
It's not the bank that she was scared was going to take her money. It was situations and things came up where, okay, now this broke down in my house. I have to spend it. This happened. I have to spend it. I have another friend who said someone was on a workshop, and she said when she was a child, and she was saving her money in her piggy bank in her room, and her father came in and said, "Hey, I need to borrow your money," and she said, "Well, how much?" And he said, "All of it." Now this is a child, and he said, "I'll give it back to you next week." He's never given her that money back.
Wow.
So you think she don't have trust issues? You think that's not showing up? Somebody said they needed something and said they were going to give it back to you. Somebody that loved you. That wound still runs and shows up in her money story.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we figure, well,
when I was in the 5th grade.
And then we figure we're bad with money. We're not smart, or we just can't do a thing. No, we got so many things impacting our money story, and we have more things than people that don't look like us because of what has been done to us.
Do you?
Also, when I was in the 5th grade, I was thinking about my future.
Right. Also, we really
so I went
educated.
to
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So what I was going to say is that
no, I was just saying when I was in the 5th grade.
I think we have a delay.
The audio is messing up. Yeah. So I was going to say when I was in the 5th grade, I was thinking about my future, how I could be wealthy. So I had saved up a lot of coins. I went to Security Bank and I started savings, but I didn't know how it worked. And I didn't have ID and all this stuff, but the banker let me go ahead and start the account. He didn't explain to me how it worked. So I'm thinking, oh yeah, I got my money in the bank. In 10 years, I'm going to have $1 million. But I ended up owing them.
Oh, wow.
They took all my money and I owed them. Because it cost, I guess. He didn't explain to me. I didn't know.
He didn't explain it. It's a cost to have this account or whatever. Like, yeah. So nobody, and he probably didn't look like you, or maybe he did. Right. But if we're not explaining the things,
no, we cannot.
Right. We did just assume that somebody knows how to operate this account. It's not how that works.
So there's more than just when you see a dollar 100 pennies. It's more than just a, it's really a concept. That's what it is. It's a concept, right? The fiat is now in fiat, like you were saying, it's going to go back to being backed by something like gold or silver. But the concept of a dollar is not the same. $1 is not actually equal to the next. It depends on how it moves.
Correct.
The hands that it goes through, because you could be paying the interest on $1, which means you really only got 85 cents, or you could be gaining gains from it, APY, which means you got $1.25.
Exactly. But most people are just put, or too many people, I'm not going to say most, are just putting their money in whatever bank, if if they even are moving money from their checking account. I always say you cannot save in the same account from which you spend. Your money has to be somewhere else. And we're sitting there thinking that, okay, this bank is giving you, I'm putting my money in a savings account. Well, how much is that savings account paying you? Where they're giving you 0.0013%, and then they're loaning it back to everybody for 10%. Like, you can't just leave your money there. So even just saving money in a savings account is not the best strategy. It's a start, but it's not the best strategy. But if you don't show up and come into the room, you're never going to know another strategy, because they're not coming to tell you. That bank person didn't, when you went to open that savings account, he didn't say, hey, there's a monthly fee of X amount of dollars if you don't keep this much money in this account. He didn't tell you that.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, you don't know to ask the question.
I want to circle back to what you were talking about a few minutes ago, 10, 15 minutes ago. So Miss Lizzie was saying that the information doesn't propagate. We don't get the information, so we cannot react or make a choice because the information is not reaching us. And you were agreeing with that, but you also said that the information does reach some of us, but we don't act on that information. And I didn't get the underlying issue of why you're saying that that's the case.
Okay.
But why are we not acting on that?
Yeah. So let's go back to my example. This many people registered, but all of them did not. I'm sorry, this many people wanted to register, but they did not register. So there's a gate that kept them from that, right? What is the gate? Yep, let's just say conflict of scheduling conflict. Okay, let's just put those aside. But then did the rest of them say, okay, yep, I really wanted this information, but this not for me. I've never been around that type of stuff. This is not my type of conversation. So they've talked themselves out of it. There is I worked with somebody before, and they did me wrong, whatever. So I don't trust. Although this sounded good, I don't have trust in these people that look like me, perhaps, maybe, right? Or just the shame. I'm not going to show up because this is a life insurance webinar. I'm not going to show up because, we've never talked about life insurance in my family, or I don't have any outside of work. But then there's the level of shame that comes along with it. So it's all of these gates that keep you from getting in the room. And somebody has to be able to get over the gates. And one person might have one gate, somebody else might have 7 gates. Remember, all of those 10 financial wounds, they're showing up in every financial decision that you make, whether you know it or not. They're still showing up. I met a young woman about a month ago, and I'm literally right now doing a reel series on her. And one of the things that she said was she plays the lottery every single day. Every day, twice a day, she plays the lottery. So she works, she has a job, she works at her kids' school during the day, but in the morning before school, in the evening, she delivers packages, right? So she takes her package money and she goes and she delivers, she uses part of that money to play the lottery, right? And I said, well, why do you keep playing the lottery every single day? And she says, because I keep hoping and praying that I will win so that I can get some relief. You know how many wounds are in that whole statement, right? She thinks the relief is coming outside of her, right? So she's gonna play this lottery. It's also a performance room where, look, I'm doing the work. I'm getting up in the morning at 4 a.m. to go drive, and then I'm going to work, and then I'm going back and driving afterwards. So I'm doing the work. Nothing is happening, right? But so just and now she's showing her kids the same thing, right? So all of these gates that show up that keep you from doing the thing, and you don't even know what they are. So awareness becomes key. You cannot heal what you cannot name. You got to figure out what's happening. How come I can't do this? I keep starting to save money. Well, why do I keep stopping? Well, there's a wound behind there that's saying why you keep stopping. But if you're not having a conversation, if you're not trying to learn, trying to pay attention, trying to figure these things out, the wound is going to keep showing up.
Right.
I say more money doesn't solve the problem.
What lessons have you learned by serving the community?
That we a trip. That's what. I love my people. Those that step into the room and that want to learn, I love my people. But you still have those people who are going to, and again, it's the wounds that's running the story, right? I don't need that. It's too late for me. I don't want anybody knowing my business. Like, we can go on down the list. And that's what I learned. People and some of those people really want the information, but it's those wounds, those gates that's keeping them from coming in the room. And that's the biggest thing. There's
that
been
word
so much
wounds.
done to us, right? There's so much in us operating that we don't even know. All of it shows up in those decisions that you're making. And
So those,
that's what I see in the community. I'm sorry.
so those wounds are sort of like trauma in a sense, right?
Oh, some of them have come from trauma, right? And here's the thing. So I say everybody has a personal financial relationship, wasn't defined by you, doesn't work in your favor. It was defined by what you inherited generationally. And I'm not talking about assets. What you saw modeled in your household and what you did not see, what you were taught, what you weren't taught, what you were told, what you overheard when you shouldn't have been listening to that conversation in the first place, what you saw in your community, in your church, in your family, what happened in your adulthood, who let you down, what traumas, what losses, all of those things. Then you got social media, music, television, and all of that, all saying how your finances are supposed to go. Well, nowhere in there did you choose any of that, right? So all of that. So when you heal though, and redefine your personal financial relationship, every area of your life changes because the same things showing up in your finances, they're showing up in all of those other areas too. That worthy wound. Why does this woman or this man continue to stay with somebody who doesn't recognize their worth? Why does someone not ask for more money when they get hired? Well, we're not going to negotiate that salary. That's a worthy wound, but it's also showing up in your money story because it says, I'm not worthy to have a savings account. I'm not worthy to build for the future. It shows up everywhere, not just in those relationships, not just in those other things. And no one's talking, no one's going back, except for me, really and truly saying, listen, all of this is happening. It's not because we're not smart. All of this stuff is running our financial story, and no one's looking at it, and no one's teaching it, and no one's saying, you got to heal this first. You got to heal it.
Yeah, we all have voices in our head. We have these voices telling us a narrative, telling us a story.
Everybody.
Right.
Everybody does. Yeah.
And we don't really acknowledge the voice. We just feel like, oh, that's just us talking. Like we're just talking, and that's what it is. But what you're saying is that there is trauma that's like an indoctrination. We're indoctrinated in a cycle of trauma, and that voice is the voice of trauma itself. And I go ahead. I was going to say,
in your nervous system, right? So let's say you try to do a thing. Okay, I'm saving this money, or I'm doing this thing, or I'm doing. You try it and you stop it. It's because your nervous system is like, wait a minute, hold up. That's not what we do. We don't do that. And your nervous system now sees that new thing that you're trying as unsafe, even though it's better for you, because your nervous system only recognizes safe as familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't been saving money, if you haven't been doing a thing, right? Now you try to do something different. If it's just you and you're not in a community saying, hey, accountability and holding your hand through this process, then yeah, your nervous system gonna pull you right back into what you've been
Right.
doing always.
There's a saying that 10 of the thoughts that you had yesterday, you have today.
Mm-hmm.
Or 9 out of 10 thoughts that you had yesterday, you have today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so what you're saying, it really addresses something more intangible, spiritual, healing that needs to be done. That's what it really sounds like.
That's
And
it.
it plays out into our quality of life because we haven't addressed ourselves as who we are and basically become enlightened to listen to the narratives that we're telling ourselves on a daily basis.
And let's be clear, and I say it, and I want to make sure that those people, the people that are listening, understand this. I am by no means saying any of this is your fault. I'm saying give yourself a break, release the shame, because it's not your fault.
Ashe.
That's good.
That's what I love about what you are saying.
Talking about
I
trauma.
love what you're saying.
Thank you.
Remember my grandfather, he was born in the late 1800s and he lived to the 70s, the 1970s. But he went through the Great Depression. And around that time, he had money in the bank. And he didn't get anything back. The Caucasians, they were able to go get so many pennies on the dollar or
Sure.
whatever, but they didn't give him anything. So he didn't ever use the bank. When he passed, there were lots of money all in the room that he was keeping in the house.
So that's the installed layer, right? That distrust of the bank was installed in your grandfather because he used the bank and the bank let him down. So now I'm not going to trust the bank anymore.
Yeah.
Now, watch this. You did not go through that, but that's in your DNA, right? So in some level, you have a distrust of the bank, and we should have some distrust of the banks now. It's right. But you have some distrust in the bank that you can't necessarily go back and say, well, why do I necessarily have this distrust in the bank? Because it's in you. When we talk about this melanin, it's the carbon code. It's in us. And guess what? It's other people, right, who did not experience when the Freedmen's Bank collapsed, right? And all of those Black families couldn't get their money. It might not even be in your family, right? But that shared frequency that says we experience and it's in us what has happened to us, and it travels through bloodlines, across continents, through the whole diaspora. It does not have to happen to us, and I don't have to trace it back to my family. If it happened to somebody that looks like me, we have a shared frequency that's living inside of me too.
This is true.
And that's why I say it's not just
kind of like
the thing. It's so many layers to what we have to heal from in order to be financially liberated.
Right. So before we
speaking of healing,
I'm sorry, go ahead. I know you have a delay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of healing, you know how Black people have that stigma about going to the doctor after that Miss Evers boys, how they were doing those tests and they were not really treating some and some they were treating. So yeah, it goes way back there. A lot of Black people today don't want to go to the doctor because it was instilled in them generation after generation after generation.
Now,
doctors are not really going to heal you. The doctors.
Let me say this on the other side. right? Because we sitting up here talking about the traumas, the wounds, and all of the negative things. That's very, very valid. But also my job is to remind us how powerful we are, right? And how those other things, the power, the knowledge, and all of that travels through our bloodline as well. And so West African currency, the Manila bands, they wore their copper bracelets, right, which was the currency, and they wore it to buy things, to what, all of the things. And they believed they buried their people with their Manila bands, right, because they felt like wealth wasn't supposed to die with you. It needed to travel on in that next life, right? And so the more bands someone wore around their ankles, around their wrists, meant their family had more money, right? I say, so we think right now, these people, we wearing all of these gold chains and these bangles on our bracelets just because it's a fashion trend? No, it's in our DNA. It's in our bloodline. Nobody had to tell us that Manila band story. It lives in us. So the same way the
Right.
trauma lives in us, so does all of the good things as well. And so when I talk about the history, I have to tell those type of things too, so that we don't just think that, okay, well, no, we never had anything and we never knew anything and never knew how to work. No, no, no. We taught everybody everything. We got that part is important too.
Right.
Say representation and all of that matters. Knowing that history, that matters as well, so that we can understand how dynamic we are. And the fact that you all call this melanation, because how powerful that melanin is,
Ashe, Ashe.
we got to remember that. Because it goes back to, why would others try so very hard to hold us back if they didn't know how powerful we were?
Ashe.
We got to remember.
Mary, I know that you are having an online conversation tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yes. So it's called Credit Unlocked and Dominated.
Tell us about-
And now it's not free. It is $33.
Could you give
And you can actually, if you go to crystalgunn.me, so .me, that is my link tree, and it'll actually show you the very first link on there is that. So we're going to talk about some of that history, right? Things that we need to know. Again, how this system was built on our backs. Then we're going to actually talk about credit, everything that you need to know about credit. Then we also will be doing credit card strategy live in that masterclass. And then I'm going to tell you about some of these other good things that are coming up for us economically, so that people can watch out for them. Yeah, so it'll be about 2 hours long, 2.5 hours.
And
Could
then
you
what I was
repeat
going to
that one
say
more
when
time,
you
please?
said, oh, go ahead. That what?
Miss Elizabeth, are you
No,
still
Wanna
there?
Crystal,
repeat
could you
what?
repeat that?
Oh, I'm sorry. What part do you want me to repeat? I'm sorry.
Your online
Oh,
session
yep.
tomorrow.
So if you just go to crystalgunn.me, so .me, and you'll see that link for Credit Unlocked and Dominated. And you can just click that to register. And like I said, it's $33, but it's yeah, it's worth way more.
Okay.
But I don't believe our financial liberation should be behind a very expensive paywall. So I make everything super, super affordable. So it's an investment, but you're going to leave there with things that you've never heard before. Oh, I'm sorry. And I missed
Thank
the
you.
piece. Also some credit repair. So I'm going to tell you, you don't have to pay people a whole bunch of money to do that. We're going to walk through that as well.
Okay.
Sounds
All
beautiful.
right.
I'm
Now,
in that boat.
for the slow people, repeat that again. Where you go?
Yes, crystalgunn.me. M-E.
Okay, I got it. I'm one of those slow people.
No, that's okay.
So,
I'm definitely,
so you were
I'm
talking about
definitely
how
going to
we
try
made
to.
everything. You were saying how we made everything. And then it made me think about how the slaves used to run everything for the slave masters. So they were taught how to do things. And when slavery was over, they started to do big things in a lot of different states. I didn't even know it was that many people that many states where they had something like Black Wall Street. I mean, there's a lot of them, a lot of different states. They
And
had communities like that of
taught.
Black people who were.
We weren't taught how to do that stuff. We had already been doing all of the stuff. We're not just doing it on this plantation, but we had already been doing all of this stuff, right? We were already the doctors, the astrologers, like all of the things. We were already doing all of that. But now, part of the world will make you think that our history just starts at slavery. No, everything. And we taught everybody. So that's the other part that we got to remember. Yeah, the greatness and the power that we have inside of us, we need to tap into it because it's there already.
Ashe.
There's
All right,
only
well,
one thing they didn't teach anybody else. That's how they build the pyramids. How did they do that? They didn't tell anybody that.
So we've reached the part of our show. We're toward the end of our live here. Miss Gunn, what could you say to our audience? Someone that's going to replay this video. Speak to our audience, please.
You are powerful, more powerful than you ever could imagine. Forgive yourself for what you've done in the past because it no longer even matters. Forgive yourself. Figure out what it is. Like literally think about how do you want to live your life from this day forward? How do you want to live the rest of your life? And then don't stop until that happens. So if that means you have to get financial, you need to come to a class, you need to, step up and get some financial education. You need to talk about the things. Do it because it's better on the other side. Heal, do the work. And those that are in therapy, listen, start talking to your therapist about how whatever you are uncovering is also impacting your money story. Now, it's not something that's going to come up in therapy. My clients who also have therapy or in therapy really do great because the issues that come up, we can then say, okay, go work with your therapist on this to get through the thing. But just remember, listen, we're the chosen people.
Ashe.
Right? We're the chosen people. And all of this stuff that's happening, you think we've been forgotten? Absolutely not. Tap into your greatness, tap into that melanin that's so powerful in you, but don't sit still and not go back and get what you need in order to elevate. This whole life is about elevating to your next level. Not somebody else's
Sankofa.
next level, your next level. So if you're gonna do that, how do you want to live your life? And don't stop until you figure it out. Like the healing is a must. We cannot go to the next level without healing. We cannot.
Ashe.
Go back and fetch it.
And don't forget to come back, right? And you're going to do a workshop here. I'm
Absolutely.
looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
Ms. Jean-Pierre, you got closing remarks for the audience? No closing remarks? You.
Me? Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm one of them slow ones. Don't forget. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for coming, and I hope you picked up something that you can apply to your life. And then don't forget to come back because we're going to do this on Wednesday again. And we're going to have Ms. Gunn come back to do a workshop here.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy about that. So make sure you show up. Got to get in the room. Got to get in the room.
Ashe. Miss Lizzie Woody,
Ashe.
closing remarks, please. Closing remarks.
Right. We'll make this closing remarks. I really do appreciate you spending time with us. Picked up some good nuggets, and hopefully I will join you tomorrow. And I'm encouraging our audience, please, $33 with
Is an investment.
this young lady is worth it. It's probably worth a lot more. But I appreciate you, and come back next Wednesday.
Ashe, Ashe. And I'm going to end by saying the same thing. Thank you for watching. See you again Wednesday, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. In the meantime, reach out to us on Facebook Messenger. And my final thing is, you've been great, Miss Gunn, and we'll definitely love to have you back in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Definitely
much.
your family now.
I love it. Thank you so much.
All right. Keep an eye out for the app. Ashe,
thank you.
Ashe,
Great.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Okay.